In this video, I'd like to make a UI in which the center of the screen changes depending on which input button is selected. The reason for doing this is that I have controls for the Apple TV, the Blu-ray, and well, not the computer, but you'll see that I want to expose in the center when that input is selected. So you can see that I've already gone ahead and created an overlay for my Apple TV controls, as well as an overlay for my Blu-ray controls. And for my computer, I'm not really controlling anything, so I just made a blank overlay that I can show when the computer is selected. The next thing that I want to do is create a frame for the overlays to live in. So I create frame and I drag the approximate size that I want. I'm going to go ahead and call this frame center frame. And then, while it's not necessary, I'm going to go ahead and change the size of my frame to be the same size as my overlays. Again, this is not necessary, but something that I like to do. Oops. Okay, next I want to notice that on my frame, I have a property called overlay, and that property is what determines what overlay goes inside that frame. This is what I essentially want to change when I press a button. So to do that, I'm going to go to my Apple TV button, and I'm going to add an update property command. And I want to change a property of my center frame. So I need to take my center frame and drag it to the target widget of what I want to change. Then the target property is going to be my overlay. And again, the property value being, in this case, Apple TV overlay for my Apple TV button. To save some time, I'm going to copy this command and go to my Blu-ray button and paste it and just change the overlay to Blu-ray overlay. And then I'm going to go to my computer button and paste it again and just change it to be the blank overlay. So let's check it out and see what this has done. Here's my UI. So you can see that as I choose an input, you can see that it's selecting the proper overlay inside the center of the screen. Computer gives me blank, Blu-ray gives me the transport controls, and Apple TV gives me control of the Apple TV. Now, while this works fine, there's one thing that I want to share, which is the fact that by doing this, you have to physically press the input button in order for the overlay to change. Again, because these commands are in the top part on the tap action, again, this command is only going to execute when you tap that button. So if the input of the switcher changes without you hitting this button, whether you push it on the front panel or another UI changes it, it might be best to move this command to another place on the interface. So just to show you, I'm going to copy this command and I'm going to place it down at the bottom here. We know that this event, especially this part of the conditional, executes when input state is changed to be Apple TV. So it's the same thing that will happen, when you push the Apple TV button, it's going to set the input to Apple TV, which will effectively change the state of the switcher to Apple TV, which will then execute this. But the advantage of it being down here is that even if you change the input of the switcher from some external source, this event will still execute, causing the overlay to change. Now I don't need it in both places, so I can delete it from up top. It only needs to be in the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and do that for each of these buttons. So copy this, paste, delete from up top. Again, my computer, copy, paste, delete from here. Now again, I'll publish. Check out the UI. Now again, it's going to work exactly the same. Depending on which input I select, it's going to give me the proper inputs. Except now, again, if the input does change in some other place, it's still going to reflect the same change as if I push the button. It's going to show the proper overlay in the center.